morning, good afternoon, or good evening, everyone. Wherever you are in the world, I hope you're fine, enjoying good health. Thanks, Air Convention, for the opportunity to be here and share with you how Embraer sees the airline industry in Asia emerging in the post-COVID world. Before anything else, I recognize that on coding, I don't have the illusion of predictability, okay? But the things we know, we don't know. ARED provides some hints on the possible path to recover, and that's exactly what I want to talk about right now. My presentation has two sections, okay? The first one, of course, is the elephant in the room, is airlines. But last but not least, in the second part, I want to also address one structural challenge that this industry needs to address head on. Of course, COVID-19 is the biggest threat the airline industry has ever faced, but this is the opportunity we all have to emerge more efficient and to emerge stronger in the post-COVID-19 world. So, as the pandemic continued to play out, there are basically three groups of countries, let's say, the good, the bad, and the ugly. Unfortunately, the ugly country right now is my home country, Brazil. It's number one in terms of new deaths, daily deaths. India is not in a good position as well. The country is just relaxing the restrictions that kept 1.3 billion people and all aircraft on the ground for about 2 months. Right, the US is also not in a very good position right now. And on the other hand, Asia, because it was the first region exposed to the virus, because it was the first region on the front line, it's reasonable to see that many Asian countries are already in a better position now. So the countries are in different stages of travel resumption, different stages of infections, but overall, the consumers all around the world are holding back their travel plans. It is, however, widely recognized that the domestic operation will lead the recovery. Domestic operation will be the foundation of the recovery. There is in every country a higher propensity to travel domestic in the near future. That will be followed by the so-called travel bubbles, right? Which are those safe corridors connecting low-risk neighboring countries. And the last stage, the last environment to recover is definitely the international operations. So our forecast points to recover the domestic sector by 2022, and 3 years later in 2025, the international sector tend to reach the 2019 levels. Of course, RPK is and will be the primary driver of RPK growth. GDP, the economic output, will be the primary driver of the RPK growth, but confidence will definitely be a major driver from now on. All econometric models need to incorporate, need to include the psychological effect of fear in their forecasts. And that by itself brings a lot of uncertainties, right? Which is in line with my opening remarks. The uncertainty is that will lead us to recognize the importance of flexibility, to manage the risks, to ride the ups and downs of the business cycle. The dashed lines in the chart shows the bear and bull case scenarios. The gap between them is like 2 to 3 years. So that really highlights how uncertainty the traffic tend to evolve over the course of the next years. And although it's still in early stages, what we can see clearly is that the up to 150 seat segment is definitely leading the recovery, right? In every single region, airlines are bringing the right size jets faster back to the sky. It has been instrumental in restoring the connectivity, in rebuilding airlines network. And still, in terms of flexibility, Asia definitely lags behind the other regions. The proportion of up to 150 seats in the total fleet in service in Asia is just 10%. That compares to 44% in North America, 25% in Europe. And the result of that is Asia has the largest average aircraft size, 185 seats, while Europe has 172 and North America 138. And with this new demand, of course, reduced by 40, 50%, airlines will have to adjust their fleet plans to mitigate the impact of this depressed demand. You know, the operating cost of 180-seat aircraft cannot be covered by passenger loads of 150 or fewer. So this is something that needs to be considered over the next years, because the story of Asian airline industry is a combination of high growth but meager profits. Until last year, all airlines here, most of the airlines here rely on single fleet strategy based on 180, 200-seat aircraft for economies of scale and search for the lowest seat cost possible. But the problem with the single fleet strategy is that you have the same aircraft to fly in all market profiles. So basically, you have to adjust your network to your aircraft, when in fact, airlines should be doing different, adapting its aircraft to their network. So because there is this over-reliance in large narrow-body aircraft, the lower yields was always a strategy to stimulate demand and fulfill all the empty seats on a large narrow-body aircraft. The problem now is that what we see is a very limited impact of lower yields to encourage passengers to fly again. As I said, it's about fear. It's not about price elasticity of demand. It's not about elasticity. It's about confidence. It's about fear. So although the low oil price provides some room for airlines to lower their yields, to lower the airfares in order to stimulate demand, that's not as viable as it was before. So something else will have to be considered. And that's exactly what I want to address right now, because irrational capacity, overcapacity, always amplify the negative effects of downturns. So if you see in 2019, so before this current downturn, before the COVID-19 crisis, the EBIT margin posted by Asian carriers was exactly 3.7%, according to IATA. That was below the world average of 5.1%, and even more shocking, it was about a third of the EBIT margins posted by North American carriers, which, by the way, accounted for more than 50% of industry profitability worldwide. And even historically, the region was already on a downward trend. 3.7% margin in 2019 is exactly half of the margins posted in 2016, the peak of this current cycle. And that, combined with this rupture that we're all living now, will gradually move airlines from a volume-focused cycle to a cycle focused on profitability. You know, a cost per seat only makes sense when you have your airplanes full, right? An empty airplane, cost per seat doesn't really measure airlines' efficiency, doesn't really measure airlines' success. And 180, 200-seat aircraft simply offers no flexibility. And because there's no flexibility, there is a mismatch between aircraft capacity and market demand. And well, as I said, trip cost is going to be increasingly important to measure efficiency. So large aircraft delivers a high trip cost, and the impact on the bottom line in form of lower profits is obvious. On the other hand, multi-fleet strategy can provide higher flexibility because it allows airlines to change the capacity mix while delivers a very competitive trip cost. And the obvious result is higher profits, higher returns. So that is essentially the most important outcome of this current downturn, that we're going to see airlines gradually migrating from a single fleet strategy to a multi-fleet strategy. And that's exactly what the E2 steps in. The E2 family covers the broadest seat range of capacity from 80 up to 150 seats. The E195-E2, the largest member of the family, can be configured with up to 146 seats in a single class, high density configuration. The maximum range of the family can cover 99.9% of the large narrow bodies, the city pairs covered by large narrow bodies. So it is a compelling case for the region. And again, it's not just about capacity. It's a combination of capacity and cost. So these two charts here, it compares the economics of airlines from different generations. The first, left-hand side, E1 versus CEO, right-hand side, E2 versus NEO. And while the E195 E1 has a disadvantage on a per seat basis of 20%, the E195 E2 simply broken the paradigm of higher seat cost and smaller capacity aircraft. The E195 E2 gives the same advantage on a per trip basis while offers similar comparable cost per seat. So the E195 E2 is as cost effective as the A320neo. So right size and right cost. The E1 Embraer has a global footprint. We have around 1,600 aircraft in operation with over 80 airlines all around the world, and the A2 will continue its tradition. We also have a growing customer base with the A2. The airlines relatively new to the market. The E195 E2, for example, entered and serves in the second semester of last year with Azul, who was the launch operator. And although it's relatively new, the customer feedback, the customer testimonials have been very positive. They are all highlighting the better than expected performance, how this aircraft is able to provide flexibility and provide a low cost structure. So this is the kind of comments that we expect airlines all around the world echoing as they recognize the importance of flexibility in order to ride the ups and downs of the business cycle. From now on, it's clear to me that the one-size-fits-all approach has never sounded as obsolete as it sounds today. And on the other hand, the flexibility and the right sizing concept has never sounded as important as it sounds today. And this is fundamentally the most important outcome of this current downturn. This is fundamentally the most important change in mindset that will eventually lead airlines to emerge from this crisis stronger and even more efficient. Thank you very much. Thank you for your time. If you have any comments, questions, don't hesitate to reach out to me. Thank you very much.